Right now, somewhere in the vast oceans of the world, America's finest are manning the most sophisticated weapons ever created. On a single US Navy destroyer, enough firepower to make our enemies think twice. This right here is what freedom looks like. The Tomahawk missile, 1,000 miles of pure American precision. But here's something that'll really get your attention. What I'm about to show you has never been covered in detail before. For 40 years, I've studied naval weapons, but even I wasn't ready for what these missiles can really do. Stick around, because what I'm about to reveal might change everything you thought you knew about our Navy's capabilities. The Tomahawk isn't just another missile. Each one carries a message. Don't mess with the United States Navy. With pinpoint accuracy at ranges that'll make your jaw drop, one destroyer can launch 96 of these beauties. That's enough to target every major military installation in an area the size of Oregon. We're talking about a missile that cruises at 550 miles per hour, skimming just 100 feet above the waves. Our enemies can't hide. This bird finds its target 85% of the time, and when it does. But here's what makes every American proud. Each Tomahawk is built right here in the USA, by American workers, using American technology. Over 2,000 have been fired in combat, and let me tell you something, they've never let us down. And yet, there's something about these missiles that even veteran naval officers rarely discuss. A capability so advanced, it's changed the entire game of naval warfare. But we'll get to that bombshell later. You're watching American engineering excellence at its finest. Each missile costs about $2 million. But how do you put a price tag on freedom? Our brave sailors trust these missiles with their lives, and that trust has been earned in combat, time and time again. If you're as proud of our Navy as I am right now, type USA in the comments below. Let's show our sailors we've got their backs. Speaking of game-changing firepower, let me introduce you to something truly extraordinary, the Standard Missile-6. Folks, this isn't just any ordinary missile. Picture this, a single weapon that can shoot down enemy aircraft, knock incoming missiles out of the sky, and even strike ships on the surface. That's American innovation at its finest. Every SM-6 can reach altitudes that'll make your head spin, up to 70,000 feet. At a cool $4 million per unit, each one packs enough sophistication to make our rivals nervous. But here's the real kicker. They can hit targets over 150 miles away. That's like shooting from New York City and hitting something in Boston with pinpoint accuracy. Now, let me tell you something remarkable about our Navy's readiness. These missiles sit ready in their vertical launch cells 24/7, 365 days a year. While most Americans sleep soundly in their beds, our brave sailors stand watch with these guardians at their fingertips. Each destroyer carries up to 96 missiles. That's enough firepower to defend an entire carrier battle group. But there's something about their targeting system that we haven't revealed yet. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for that revelation later in the video. Here's what makes every military veteran's chest swell with pride. When our aircraft carriers sail the world's oceans, the SM-6 creates an iron dome of protection. Enemy aircraft? They don't stand a chance. Incoming missiles? Shot down miles before they get close. Surface threats? Let's just say they'll have a very bad day. Now, let me introduce you to something that'll really knock your socks off, the Standard Missile-3. While the SM-6 guards our ships, the SM-3 reaches into space to protect our entire nation. Think about that for a moment. We've built a missile that can shoot down incoming ballistic missiles in space. Each SM-3 can hit targets at speeds over 600 miles per hour. They can reach altitudes of over 300 miles. That's higher than the International Space Station. The precision required here is like hitting a bullet with another bullet while both are traveling at thousands of miles per hour. Only American engineering could pull this off. Remember when our enemies thought they could threaten us with their missile programs? Well, the SM-3 changed that conversation real quick. Each successful intercept sends a clear message. America remains unmatched in defending our freedom. And speaking of unmatched capabilities, there's something about how these missiles work together that'll blow your mind. Our engineers have developed a secret integration system that, well, let's just say it makes these missiles even more lethal than you can imagine. but we'll get to that game-changing revelation in a few minutes. Drop a love Navy in the comments if you're proud of our Navy's missile defense capabilities. And for any veterans watching, especially those who served on our magnificent Aegis ships, we salute you. Your service helped make America's missile defense the best in the world. The story of our naval missile systems begins during one of America's greatest challenges, the Cold War. Back then, our brave sailors stood watch against a formidable Soviet Navy that threatened freedom across the globe. Those tense decades sparked something remarkable, an explosion of American innovation that would change naval warfare forever. Picture this. In 1959, the USS Norton Sound became the first ship to launch a guided missile at sea. That single moment marked the beginning of America's revolution in naval warfare. Our engineers and sailors worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of what was possible, knowing the stakes couldn't be higher. Now, here's something truly remarkable about American ingenuity. While our rivals struggled with basic guidance systems, our engineers had already mastered the art of precision targeting. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union realized they couldn't match our technological superiority. Remember that classified capability I mentioned earlier? Well, during the Cold War, we developed a targeting system so advanced that it could track over 100 targets simultaneously. That's right, while our adversaries celebrated tracking a single target, we were tracking entire squadrons. The journey from those early days to our current missiles tells a story of American determination. Our first surface-to-air missiles had a range of just 10 miles. Today, an SM-6 can reach out to 150 miles. That's like going from a slingshot to a sniper rifle in just a few decades. But it wasn't just about distance. Each generation brought new capabilities that would make our founding fathers proud. Admiral James Watkins, who commanded our Pacific Fleet during the Cold War, once said, "Our missiles weren't just weapons. They were a message to the world that America would always stay one step ahead." Those words ring true even today. Let me share something special from Chief Petty Officer Robert Martinez, who served aboard the USS Ticonderoga in 1988. When we first tested the Aegis system, we knew we had something revolutionary. The Soviets had nothing like it. Every time we went to sea, we carried America's technological superiority with us.
And speaking of technological superiority, it's time to reveal something that's been classified until recently. During the final years of the Cold War, our engineers developed a unique capability in our missile guidance systems: quantum navigation. This technology allowed our missiles to maintain precision even when enemies tried to jam our targeting systems. It was so advanced that most of our rivals thought it was science fiction. Today's sailors stand on the shoulders of giants, the men and women who pioneered these incredible systems. Every time a modern destroyer launches a missile, it carries forward a legacy of American excellence that spans generations. From those first rudimentary guidance systems to today's network of integrated defenses, we've never stopped pushing the boundaries of what's possible. For all our veterans watching, especially those who served during those tense Cold War years, we want to hear your stories. Share in the comments below when and where you served. Tell us about the moments when you knew America's missile systems were unmatched. Your experiences are part of our nation's proud naval heritage, and they deserve to be remembered. As we look back at this remarkable journey, remember this: every advancement, every breakthrough, every successful test was achieved by Americans who refused to accept second best. They knew, as we know today, that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, and the tools of that vigilance must be second to none. Before we dive deeper into the Tomahawk's incredible capabilities, let me ask you something. Have you ever driven from New York to Chicago? That's roughly the distance a single Tomahawk can travel. Just imagine, while you're making that drive, this marvel of American engineering could have already reached its target with pinpoint accuracy. Let's talk about the brain inside this magnificent weapon. Did you know the Tomahawk's computer can actually redraw its own maps during flight? Think about that for a moment. While you're using your phone's GPS to navigate city streets, this missile is creating detailed 3D maps of terrain in real time. Ever wonder how something traveling at 550 miles per hour can fly just 100 feet above the ground without crashing?
The answer lies in something called TERCOM, terrain contour matching. It's like having a blindfolded pilot who can feel their way through a mountain range by memory. Incredible, isn't it? Remember Operation Desert Storm? The Tomahawk made history during those early morning hours of January 17, 1991. Here's a question for our viewers who remember those days. Where were you when you first heard about the Tomahawk's combat debut? The numbers tell an astounding story. Out of 288 Tomahawks launched during Desert Storm, 282 hit their targets. That's a 98% success rate, folks. Can you name any other complex machine that works that reliably? I'll wait while you think about that. Now, let's talk dollars and cents. Each Tomahawk costs about $2 million. Sounds expensive, right? But here's something to think about. What's the value of not putting our brave pilots at risk? What's the worth of striking a target without endangering a $100 million aircraft and its crew? Did you know that every Tomahawk is assembled in Tucson, Arizona? Think about that. In the same state where the Old West once ruled, we're now building the most sophisticated missiles on Earth. The factory employs over 1,000 American workers, each one contributing to our nation's defense. Here's another question that might surprise you. How many individual parts do you think go into a single Tomahawk? Take a guess. The answer is over 15,000 components. That's right, 15,000 pieces working in perfect harmony, each one made with American precision. Remember that old Western movie saying, "God didn't make all men equal, Samuel Colt did"? Well, in today's world, the Tomahawk is the great equalizer. When our enemies see that distinctive shape coming over the horizon, well, let's just say it changes their perspective real quick. But here's what really sets the Tomahawk apart. It keeps getting better. The latest Block 5 version can do something unprecedented. Can you guess what new capability we've added? Here's a hint. It has something to do with moving targets at sea. The Tomahawk team isn't resting on their laurels. They're constantly pushing boundaries, improving capabilities, and ensuring America stays ahead. Speaking of staying ahead, remember that secret capability I mentioned earlier about target tracking? Well, it's time to reveal something remarkable about how the Tomahawk communicates with our ships. But before I share that revelation, I want you to think about this. How do you imagine our missiles coordinate their attacks? Drop your theories in the comments below. And if you're as impressed by American engineering as I am, hit that like button and share this video with someone who appreciates the incredible technology protecting our nation. Here's one final question to ponder. If you were in charge of the Tomahawk program, what capability would you add next? Think about it. What could make this already formidable weapon even more effective? The Standard Missile-6 represents something unprecedented in military history. A single weapon that can dominate air, sea, and space. Think about driving a car that could transform into a boat or airplane whenever needed. That's essentially what our engineers achieved with the SM-6, but on a much more sophisticated level. The real power of the SM-6 lies in its versatility. Imagine you're playing chess, but your knight could suddenly move like a queen. That's what the SM-6 does to naval warfare. One moment it's intercepting an incoming missile, the next it's striking a ship over the horizon, and then it's shooting down an aircraft at extreme altitudes. Have you ever wondered how a single missile can accomplish all these tasks? The answer lies in its revolutionary dual-mode seeker technology. When our aircraft carriers sail into troubled waters, the SM-6 creates an invisible shield extending for hundreds of miles. Consider this. Just 2 of our destroyers carrying SM-6 missiles can protect an area larger than the entire state of Florida. That's American engineering at its finest, wouldn't you agree? Let me share something remarkable that happened during recent tests. The SM-6 achieved something that even veteran naval officers thought impossible. In a series of tests off the Hawaiian coast, a single SM-6 successfully intercepted an advanced cruise missile that was specifically designed to evade our defenses. How do you think our adversaries felt when they learned about that? Rear Admiral James Thompson, who oversaw many SM-6 tests, put it perfectly. What we've created isn't just a missile. It's a complete revolution in naval warfare. He's right, and here's why. The SM-6 has changed the fundamental equations of modern naval combat. Our ships can now engage threats that they couldn't even detect a decade ago. Now, it's time to reveal something that's been kept under wraps until recently. Remember when I mentioned a secret integration system? Well, here it is. The SM-6 can receive targeting data from any platform in our arsenal: ships, aircraft, even space assets. But here's the game-changing part. It can switch between these sources mid-flight. Think about that. Even if an enemy manages to jam one targeting source, the missile simply switches to another. How's that for American ingenuity? The SM-6 continues to evolve. Our engineers are working on capabilities that sound like science fiction. Imagine a missile that could, well, let's save that revelation for later in the video. But I will ask you this. What do you think the next breakthrough in missile technology will be? Consider this scenario. A hostile force launches a coordinated attack against one of our carrier groups, thinking they found a weakness in our defenses. Little do they know, our SM-6 missiles are already tracking their every move, ready to respond in milliseconds. That's not just technology, that's peace through strength. Before we move on, I want you to reflect on something. How many nations could develop a missile this sophisticated? The answer is very few. The SM-6 represents thousands of American engineers, decades of research, and billions in investment. But most importantly, it represents our unwavering commitment to maintaining naval supremacy. The SM-3 represents something unprecedented in human history, a defensive weapon that can reach into space itself. Let me put this in perspective. While most naval missiles operate within our atmosphere, the SM-3 climbs to altitudes higher than where satellites orbit. Ever wondered what it takes to hit a target moving at 4 miles per second in the darkness of space? American engineers solved that puzzle. Think about the precision required here. Imagine standing in New York and trying to hit a baseball being thrown in Los Angeles, except both you and the baseball are traveling at thousands of miles per hour. That's the level of precision we're talking about with the SM-3. Our engineers didn't just make this possible, they made it reliable. When our adversaries test their ballistic missiles, they're testing more than just weapons. They're testing American resolve. The SM-3 sends them a clear message. Whether your threat comes from the sea, the air, or space itself, America stands ready. In 2008, something remarkable happened that changed the game forever. The USS Lake Erie, carrying an SM-3, did something unprecedented. It successfully intercepted a failing satellite that was falling toward Earth. Think about that for a moment.
Our Navy, traditionally masters of the seas, reached into space and precisely hit a target the size of a small car moving at orbital speeds. Every SM-3 carries with it a simple promise to the American people. No matter where a threat comes from, we can stop it. The missile's range is classified, but I can tell you this. When paired with our early warning systems, a single SM-3 can protect an area larger than most European countries. Ever wondered why certain nations suddenly became less aggressive about their missile programs? Now you know. Remember those old science fiction movies where America had a space shield protecting it from attack? Well, sometimes reality surpasses fiction. The latest version of the SM-3, the Block Taoe, can do things that would have seemed impossible just a decade ago. How high can it reach? Let's just say that if you stacked 10 Mount Everests on top of each other, you still wouldn't reach the SM-3's maximum altitude. Here's a question that keeps our adversaries up at night. How do you defend against a missile that can hit your weapons before they even leave the upper atmosphere? The answer is, you don't. You simply hope you never have to face it. That's the power of American technological superiority. Behind every successful SM-3 intercept is a team of American sailors working in perfect coordination. The missile may be the star, but the men and women who operate these systems are the true heroes. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to track and intercept a ballistic missile? Our naval personnel do this during training exercises regularly, maintaining a level of readiness that no other nation can match. The next generation of SM-3 missiles is already under development. While I can't reveal specific capabilities, I can tell you this. Our engineers are working on systems that will make today's impressive achievements look modest by comparison. Imagine a missile that could, well, that's something we'll have to save for a future video. If you're as proud of America's space defense capabilities as I am, share this video with someone who needs to know just how advanced our protection systems really are. And write share in the comments if you believe American engineering is the best in the world. Picture the most sophisticated orchestra you've ever seen, where every instrument plays in perfect harmony. Now imagine that orchestra could defend continents. That's exactly what happens when our missile systems work together in a carrier strike group. The integration of these systems creates something greater than the sum of its parts. At the heart of this defensive web sits our aircraft carrier, projecting American power across the globe. Surrounding it, our Aegis destroyers and cruisers create layers of protection using every missile system we've discussed. The Tomahawk provides the long-range punch, the SM-6 handles medium-range threats, and the SM-3 watches over everything from space. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered how many individual radar tracks a single strike group manages simultaneously? The number would astound you. While our adversaries struggle to track dozens of targets, our systems handle thousands, all in real time, all automatically. When these systems work together, they create something we call the Ring of Steel. Imagine a protective bubble extending hundreds of miles in every direction. Any threat entering this bubble faces multiple layers of defensive systems. A hostile aircraft might have to dodge SM-6 missiles while simultaneously worrying about carrier-based fighters. An enemy ship would face Tomahawk strikes before it could even get close enough to be a threat. Here's where American engineering truly shines. During recent exercises, our ships demonstrated something unprecedented: the ability to engage multiple threat types simultaneously. Picture this: an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer tracking an incoming ballistic missile with its SM-3s, engaging hostile aircraft with SM-6s, and launching precision Tomahawk strikes, all at the same time. That's like playing chess, poker, and conducting an orchestra simultaneously. In the Persian Gulf, during Operation Inherent Resolve, our strike groups demonstrated this capability daily. One commander told me something remarkable. We had so many layers of defense, our adversaries couldn't even find a weak spot to probe. Think about the psychological impact that has on any nation considering hostile actions. When America deploys a strike group, we're not just protecting our own forces, we're extending a defensive umbrella over our allies. During joint exercises with Japan and South Korea, our combined operations revealed something fascinating about interoperability. Would you believe that our allies' ships can now integrate seamlessly with our missile defense network? That's the power of American leadership. Consider this scenario. A hostile force launches what they believe is an overwhelming attack. Multiple missiles, aircraft, and ships converging from different directions. They expect to overwhelm any defense. Instead, they encounter a coordinated response that seems almost supernatural in its precision. That's not science fiction. That's American naval power in action. The next generation of combined operations will push boundaries even further. Imagine artificial intelligence helping to coordinate defensive responses or new types of missiles that can share targeting data in flight. Our engineers are already working on capabilities that sound like they're straight out of science fiction. Here's something to ponder. With all these systems working together, do you think any nation would seriously consider challenging American naval power? The answer lies in the fact that our potential adversaries spend more time trying to avoid our strike groups than confronting them. Remember this: every time these systems work together, they're not just defending ships, they're defending the very principle of freedom of the seas. That's the true measure of American naval power. Our next-generation missiles will feature hypersonic speeds and AI integration, ensuring American naval dominance continues unchallenged. With Mach 5+ capabilities and quantum computing integration, we're not just staying ahead, we're redefining what's possible. America's naval superiority depends on your support. Hit like if you're proud of our Navy's capabilities, subscribe for more exclusive military tech content, and share your service stories below. Until next time, stay strong, stay proud, and God bless America.